or I might be trying to create these loopholes. Absolutely. That's why you want to have a good attorney who knows how to word things, because sometimes literally a comma or one word can make the world of difference to what a sentence means. So Megan The Stallion, she's now seeking $1 million in her lawsuit against her record label 1501 Certified Entertainment. So we covered this already. We'll be sure to link it up for you guys if you want to check out that last episode. But, you know, as far as kind of talking about the lawsuit, the basis of it is that her label is saying you have so many albums you have to give to us before your contract ends. And she's saying, hey, I have basically delivered that amount, which includes this last album. And so they're saying, no, you have not met it. So that's kind of the baseline. And we'll talk about why they are saying that she hasn't versus why she's saying that she has. But on top of that, her record label is also saying she's been making all of this money from her tours and her sponsors and her merch, and pursuant to the contract that they have with her, she's required to pay a certain portion to the record label. They're saying she hasn't, and so they're seeking millions of dollars from her for those alleged breaches of contract. So, you know, what this kind of comes down to is, how does the contract define an album? Right? So I've had artists where we have these squabbles with the record label because, you know, the artist will deliver an album and the artist will deliver an album to the record label, and the label's like, great, thanks so much, we'll distribute it. But this doesn't count towards the number of albums that you owe us, because if, for example, in the contract it says, you know, an album has to be 12 songs. If you give an album that's only 10 songs, you didn't, you know, meet the minimum threshold.
Does that get kind of wonky then? Did you just give your label a free album without knowing, and they're not going to point it out to you? They're like, oh, we just thought you were like all real excited to be on the label, gave us a free record. Like what do they, that's not going to count?
Well, no, and it's not even free, right? So just think about it. When you're signed with the label, during that term, you're exclusive. So while they'll say you have a minimum of so many albums you have to produce, if you give us extra EPs or singles or albums, great. Cool. We're your exclusive representation and distribution. So great. And then they also own it. Remember that, guys. We talk about this. Record labels own your music. So of course she's going to bat. And I think it's over the Hotties album primarily. They're saying, well, you had singles that you had released previously from other albums and remixes and all this stuff.
And freestyles.
That didn't. Yeah. And so they're like, you know, if the baseline language is that you have to give us, for example, a minimum of 12 songs, they all have to be original songs. Well, your remixes, right, and the songs you put on from other albums aren't original. So therefore, it's not an album. Of course, they have a huge stake in trying to get more albums out of her. She's one of the most popular artists today. When things start getting contentious with the label, and now we're having disputes over whether we satisfied certain options, trust me, I'm absolutely involved with the client, because now we know that there's some funny business and the label's going to try playing games. But back to Megan The Stallion. So in her amended complaint, she alleged that the record label was actually the source of the leak of her album, which was leaked on August 4th. And so she's like, you know, they leaked it, and so there's like additional damages, and then they're responding, they're like, there's not a shred of evidence that we leaked the album. And then the representative saying, I don't even think my guys would know how to leak it. That's nice representation.
I'll tell you what. So like I read that, and then when he was like saying, you know, why would we leak it? That wouldn't be in our interest. And I was like, okay, I hear you there. And then when they said, you know, our guys wouldn't even know how to do that if it's done. Well, first of all, yes, they do. It's called putting it on the internet. And then, you know, as far as they wouldn't benefit from, well, if they were trying to keep Megan locked into the contract and find loopholes to keep her in contract and do another album, that would be one way of, I mean, a shady way of doing it. But I mean, that would be a way of doing it if that's their argument.
So they're saying, you know, the new album must include at least 12 songs from her studio performances that were previously unreleased musical composition. So that's what they're saying. That might not be what the actual contract said, right? So if the contract just said 12 original songs, then of course, if I was Megan's attorney, I would say whether it was included on another album or not, it's still an original song. And if you guys accepted it and you distributed it, then we're good. Yeah. And then on a last note, because someone had asked this question, and actually, do attorneys add loopholes to contracts to benefit the artist or label? Yeah, bet we try. So, you know, sometimes Well, it depends on who I'm representing, but sometimes the other side will leave something out or make a mistake, and it is not my job to correct it to help the other side have a stronger case or have a stronger contract. So it might even be unintentional, or I might be trying to create these loopholes. Absolutely. That's why you want to have a good attorney who knows how to word things, because sometimes literally a comma or one word can make the world of difference to what a sentence means. But anyway, so about that earlier comment about Rock Nation. So the record label, it said everything seemed to be all kosher with Megan. She hired Rock Nation to manage her nearly 3 years ago. And then from there, it seems to be that they were mentoring her. And that's when, although she was happy with the label, that she started to really question things and to be like, I haven't paid my royalties. I'm not happy with how things are going. So that's the state of what's going on. But obviously, this is a lawsuit. It's going to continue, and we will continue to cover it.